Aloha and how's it? Today we're talking all about how you can kickstart real engagement on LinkedIn the Mango way. So, more on that in a minute. How was your weekend? Summertime is in full swing here on the North Shore, so we don't have very many waves at the moment. The kids are in their final week of school, and we're already planning some adventures where we're going to go searching for waves on the South Shore. Hopefully, a few times a week. We'll see how the schedule shakes out. Also, we're likely to get more into swimming over the next few months since I'd be hard pressed to swim a lap in a pool without pulling out the doggy paddle. So I would like to up my game in the swimming department. If you have tips on swimming, I am all ears. I'm trying to dive in over the next few weeks. We've also got a jackery headed our way. So if you're not sure what a jackery is, this is like a power source that's kind of based on like solar energy from the sun. So we're going to use it at the beach. And I want to test out doing some live streams from the beach too. So we might go to some interesting locations once I have a power source. So it's right now it's stuck somewhere on the mainland in two different places. So who knows when it'll get here, but stay tuned because you might see a different background in a few weeks. And if you haven't checked out my podcast, the Mango Effect podcast, you will get to hear me talk about running lifestyle experiments this week in this week's episode. These are some of my favorite ways to figure out and test new ideas and decide what I like, what belongs in my lifestyle by design. So if you're curious about lifestyle by design, becoming your own boss, all those types of topics, go listen to this episode, even if you're just a little bit curious. There are another 15 episodes or so up there for you to listen to if you want to hear about all things lifestyle design, entrepreneurship, living in Hawaii, what it's like to have dreadlocks, becoming your own boss, and more. So, really fun stuff over there. But now it is time for Mondays with Mindy. This is a weekly show on Monday afternoons if you're based in the US, where I talk about all things LinkedIn pipeline, promo, and profiles, what I like to call the 3 Ps of LinkedIn. So, do you have questions about LinkedIn that you want me to answer? Be sure to like this post, whether you're live or watching from the replay. Leave your questions below, and I will either answer them on a future show or on another episode of Mondays with Mindy. If it's something you want to ask privately, you can always DM me. I love getting into the nerdy stuff on LinkedIn. I love troubleshooting. I love discussing these topics. How can we grow our businesses better? So, let's get to today's topic. How do you go about kickstarting engagement on LinkedIn the Mango way? Last week, we talked about identifying a variety of influencers on LinkedIn to grow our businesses. That leads us to today's topic, where we are talking about increasing engagement. This is something that comes up for a lot of people that I work with. And this topic actually comes from one of my coaching clients who asked about getting into real interaction on LinkedIn. And I really like the way that she thinks because she wasn't blindly following experts' advice. She wanted to know where the ROI is. So, how do you get into real interaction? I see people either giving likes, agreeing, disagreeing on something, giving their teacher wise wisdom and correcting the statements of others. But I really am not seeing the benefit just by giving my opinion on everything. It's not getting me any attraction for my business. Is this really the way to get known? And that is such a good question because sometimes what I feel like we tend to do is that we really don't pay attention to what the intentions are behind all of this wonderful social media advice that we get. And sometimes we just do things on autopilot. We're not thinking about why we're doing what we're doing. Some expert told us to do this. This protocol works. Fantastic. I'm going to do that. We don't really understand the mechanisms. So, one of the first things I typically get asked by clients who work with me on their LinkedIn profile and their presence is about engagement on their posts. They want to know how they measure up. Okay, if you're like me, you're probably raising your hand. How do I measure up? How do I compare to other people? How often should I post to LinkedIn? How do I get the algorithm to work for me? How many impressions should I get? How many reactions are good? These are all very common questions that we ask because we think that if we simply understand the how, we'll start doing it. On a side note, this line of thinking reminds me of a podcast I'm totally binge listening to right now. It's called Huberman Lab with Andrew Huberman, if I can say his name correctly. And he really gets nerdy into the science of things before sharing his favorite health optimization protocols. So, what I really like about that approach is that he emphasizes the importance of understanding the mechanism before trying to just jump into the doing of things. And this really does apply to LinkedIn because a lot of us just want someone to tell us the answer. We don't think we need to know how it all works if we can follow a simple formula from some expert on the internet. What should I write? How long should my post be? Which hashtag should I use? We're asking the wrong questions. I'll just say it straight out. We're asking the wrong questions. You may be able to hack your way to a few viral posts on LinkedIn using these methods perfectly. I've seen it done by self proclaimed experts and those following their advice. The problem is, highly engaging content does not usually lead to better relationships with your tribe, your audience, or your potential prospects. That's not a common opinion. So, getting a lot of outward engagement on your post often does not lead to those 6 or 7 figure clients and contracts, but it's keeping you busy. It's making you feel like you're working on your business and you're doing lead generation. And that is not the case. And I think we need to understand that just being busy on LinkedIn, just commenting and liking each other's posts, is not necessarily going to translate to new business for us. If you are in a business with a relationship based sales process, you must take into consideration the part of the premise of people wanting to do business with you is to feel like you're able to get into a conversation with them. Getting the right balance of engagement on your posts is really the key. It's not necessarily more is better. So, as an in demand expert or business leader, you do not need to become the most popular person in your space. It's all about finding the right amount of engagement that shows you know your stuff, shows you have a unique perspective, and that you are still in touch enough with your audience to engage with them. So, a lot of influencers notice that as their audience grows, a lot of them lose touch with their audience. They're actually not seen as credible as they used to be. And the online realm has changed. People who are seen as influencers, quote unquote, don't often hold all the cards when it comes to building a great business anymore. We discussed this in depth in last week's live stream. So if you're curious about influencers, micro influencers, the big influencers, how to deal with them on LinkedIn, listen to last week's live stream. You'll get a lot of information. But it's the people who are more in the micro influencer realm who tend to have businesses they love. They choose the clients they want to work with, and they have enough byproduct of enough revenue to specialize. So I don't know about you, but I'd much rather work with someone who is not a major influencer and tends to be more of that micro influencer, because a lot of times they are not as self obsessed with their own personal brand, just being honest here, and they're focused more on some of them are just so focused on how they look, how they appear, how their content is performing, that they actually don't deliver and care so much about their clients. They're not focused on those results because they're still so obsessed with their personal brand. So you really want to pay attention and find a balance here. It can be tricky sometimes. Your profile does need to be dialed in. That is critical for everyone, whether you're a major influencer, micro influencer, an expert in between, but you don't have to become a LinkedIn commenting rock star. Okay, so take that pressure off. Think from your customer's perspective, not what the social media experts tend to tell you. Remember, LinkedIn experts, social media gurus, they all have products. They're trying to sell you more products and templates and systems because they want you more engaged in social media, because, of course, their motive is to keep buying their products. So keep that in mind as you are listening to people's advice. There is always a motive, and maybe you agree with that motive, maybe you don't, but think about your intention. What is your intention on LinkedIn? With our world as it now, we are all looking for more of that personal connection with the people we admire, those we trust, and those we want to learn from. There's something really special about maintaining and valuing that accessibility. If you don't yet have 10,000 plus followers on your preferred channel, you're exactly where you need to be. So don't stress out about it. Don't feel like, oh, my engagement isn't good enough. You want to focus on going deeper with your network, right? For them, not to go viral. Kickstarting your engagement should not feel like a Herculean effort. Rather, it's an extension of what you're already doing. And people are very surprised when I tell them that. Like, I don't think you should post more. I think posting once a month is great. It's really resonating with your audience. They actually tend to pay attention when you only post once a month. So it goes against a lot of what we're told in the social media realm. You really have to understand the nuance of why people come to you and why they want to work with you. Okay. So, aloha. For those who don't know me, my name is Mindy Rosser. I'm the founder of Mindy Rosser Marketing, and I have a group program called the LinkedIn Accelerator for those who want to go from 0 to 60 on LinkedIn with their profile and their network. We recently wrapped up the spring cohort, and we're already filling spots for the July cohort. If you want to get on the wait list, I will share the link at the end of this episode. Be sure to save your spot. Make sure to get on the wait list because it does fill up very quickly. I help superstars who feel they are the best kept secret in their industry to become that go to visible expert in their niche so they can get that next opportunity, grow their business, and scale their impact on LinkedIn. In this live, we are talking about why approaching LinkedIn engagement from the perspective of going viral is causing you to miss out on major growth opportunities for your business, and how you can kickstart enough LinkedIn engagement so that you can get more clients that lead to business opportunities this year. Are you ready? Let's jump right in. Go ahead and like this post, whether you are live or watching from the replay, to give it some social love. All right, so our obsession. We're talking about obsession today. Our obsession with going viral or getting this massive following. I feel like it's crushing experts who are darn good at what they do, and they are wasting way too much time doing content creation. And that is something that I see with a lot of the people I work with is they stress, even if they're not posting a lot, they stress that they are not posting enough. And there is this pressure that I think is unfounded, this pressure and that we have to post all the time, that we need posts to go viral. We need a ton of engagement. We need reactions, or nobody's listening to us on LinkedIn. Instead of focusing so much on the marketing of their businesses to attract a wider audience, they could actually go deeper with their current network. So that's what I tend to recommend. Like, forget about going wider. Those people are going to come down the way. Go deeper with the people who are already following you. Highly engaged networks are not those accounts who have racked up dozens of reactions and bazillions of comments on their LinkedIn post. Rather, they are those who are challenging their audiences to shift perspective. Sometimes this is simply not visible. It's not measurable with the typical LinkedIn engagement metrics. So we're fooled, because if we see that our engagement metrics are high, then we expect that that is going to translate to business for us. And we get frustrated when it doesn't, when really the actual metrics we should be looking at are not just these engagement metrics that LinkedIn shares with us. And this topic actually was brought up by one of my program members during the LinkedIn Accelerator, and it had such an impact on me. I was in the middle of explaining how to grow your network with all the right people. And I'm like, okay, we're talking about growth. We want more people. I was thinking more, 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 showing all of these high converting connection invitations, elaborating on the importance of the approach to new connections. Where can you find all of these wonderful people? She raised her hand and said, Mindy, I know I was supposed to research, 5 to 10 new people I want to connect with on LinkedIn. Instead, I actually made a list of people I'm already connected with who are a perfect fit for my business. Is it okay to go deeper with them instead of reaching out to all these new people? Doesn't it make sense to nurture existing connections rather than just adding more? It was a brilliant question. It was very insightful. And I had to pause and think through it. And it really shifted the conversation. It shifted that question in itself, shifted my perspective and how I viewed my LinkedIn network. And this same exact thing happens with our content. We work so hard to write content that has massive appeal. We take copywriting courses. I don't know how many of them I have in my arsenal, but I have a lot of them, to build our networks and expand our influence. But because it's not written to go deeper with our existing network, we often miss the mark with the people who matter the most to our business. All of those people who want to go down this path with us, they get stopped right from the beginning because we're just saying what everyone else is saying, and we're staying shallow. We're giving the same old tried and true advice. We're sharing the same old how to topics. We're almost afraid to go deeper. Like, it starts to get a bit more vulnerable for us. And I understand because I've been there and I've explored with my content. We want to appeal to everyone. And in doing so, we appeal to no one. We have heard that analogy before, but sometimes I feel like we forget about it when it comes to content creation. So stop comparing yourself to that industry peer who's getting a bazillion likes and comments and shares on his or her piece of content. We then measure our impact by the number of reactions and comments we get on post, rather than comparing that to the number of one-to-one messages, the sales conversations we're having, or calls with our perfect prospects on our calendars. Those are the real metrics. Sales KPIs are the real engagement metrics, and most marketers don't focus on them because they either don't know how to actually help people turn engagement into sales conversations, or they are still living in the matrix of stereotypical marketing metrics. It's really easy to do because I have been caught up in it too. I have a lot of clients like, just show me my engagement metrics. I'm like, okay, but how is this leading to new business for you? Is this actually growing your brand? Is this actually contributing to the bottom line? If it's not, then we need to do something different. Going viral on LinkedIn is not a guarantee that you will capitalize on the engagement and actually make money from all that online notoriety. How many influencers or experts do you know who are struggling with cash flow? Yet they're pumping out a ton of content. I know a lot of them. I talk with a lot of them, and they come to me so frustrated because they are putting in all this effort into their business and it's not translating to new business. So, what does affect you is that laser focus. It's that deep seated passion to help those in your sphere of influence with your message. Who you are as a human being, what you stand for professionally. That is what is going to connect you with the good people you want to do good business with, and it leads to increasing your bottom line. So, all right, are you ready to find out what that looks like? Let's talk about recalibrating your LinkedIn engagement. You may wonder what it looks like to approach content creation in this way. Instead of just looking at your reactions, your likes, your comments, like how else can you measure the effectiveness of your content? You need to create some type of content, yes, for your audience that engages them and gets their attention. I'm not saying don't create content. The thing is, you don't need to get everyone's attention. You just need to speak to those whom your message is going to resonate with. And it's okay if you get half dozen likes, maybe just a few comments, maybe you get very, very few reactions, especially if you're talking about a sensitive topic and people don't want to raise their hand and comment on it. So treat those comments and likes that you do get as if they are gold, because they are. It doesn't matter how many you have. Think about the people. Look at the actual people who are liking and reacting to your content, who are commenting. I actually go and look at those people's profiles. I think about them. I visualize them. I think, they tend to like, I even know the types of people that are in my network, those who comment and like a lot. I know what content they like. I could almost tell you off memory, like which pieces of content they have liked over time. Okay. So it is really important that you follow up with everyone in the comments or shoot them a DM when they engage with you, especially if you're small. If you are to the point where you are too large to do that, I get it. But for those of you who are still in that growing phase, the impact that this has had for me, for my clients, for my coaching clients is really, really powerful. If you want to learn how to hack the LinkedIn algorithm, I am not your person. There are a ton of people that can share ideas on that. Go follow them. If you want to create irresistible content that actually opens doors to real relationships with real humans whom you can help in your industry, this is my sweet spot. And this is what we're getting into today. We're going deeper. We're not just staying on the surface. Like I could give you a bazillion tactics on how to do this, how to get more engagement on your posts, how to use hashtags. And I've done that in some episodes, but that's not what this is about. The biggest thing I want you to take away from this live is that it's not about your numbers. It's not about just going wider with your audience to get more people in your network. Instead, it's about your relationships with the people who are touched right now by your message. No matter if it's just a dozen people, we all start somewhere. What kind of impact can you have on those dozen people? You have the opportunity to go deep if you want to. Your competitors aren't. I will tell you right now, they are obsessed with their engagement metrics. They're trying to go viral. They're trying to be big. They want a lot of followers. So they look at those dozen people and say, I'm just going to wait until I have 1,000 people on my email list or inside my LinkedIn network. They don't see them as individuals with hopes and dreams and business objectives, but you do. You look at your people differently. You can nurture those relationships and go deeper with those signaling to you that they support you and your message by turning them into sales conversations and business collaborations or mutually beneficial professional relationships. So let's talk about what this actually looks like. I'll share 3 tips today. If you are thinking, Mindy, this resonates with me, I want to go deeper. I'm looking for real engagement, not just those superficial numbers. So, what should you consider as you're approaching your content and wanting to create engagement that actually leads to business growth? There are some basics when it comes to LinkedIn specifically that we'll talk about, but I'm not really going to go into the nitty gritty details of character count, format, etc. That's what I teach inside my programs, but it's not as important as the mindset to how you're approaching your content creation. So, first thing you want to pay attention to is social listening. Go deeper. Listen to them on social media. Pay attention to the words they use, the struggles they face, how they're coping with things now, which solutions are working or not for them. You have to understand the emotional component to why they think what they think, especially as it relates to your area of expertise and how you can help them. If you cannot tap into this, you're going to get stuck in writing how to content that is just too tactical and it really never grabs them with the emotions they're feeling. You want them to feel like you know them, you get them, you understand where they are, you care. Think about the people that are really captivating, that are very magnetic, like a Brene Brown or an Oprah Winfrey. I can't even say her name, Oprah Winfrey. How many step by step articles do they write? Probably not that many. They focus on eliciting that emotional reaction from people and shifting their perspectives through the types of content they create. They are creating a discussion rather than just shouting from a megaphone. They are opening up dialogue. They entertain, they challenge, they ask questions, and they listen a lot. Pay attention to how much they listen. Like you think, oh, they talk a lot on their shows. They listen a lot more than they talk. And that, I think that is something, listening is just something that is just not valued as much in the social media space. Like actually setting aside time for social listening is critical to understanding our audience. All right. So, number two, speak their language, not your jargon. So, speaking their language shows that you care about them. Many of us tend to default to industry jargon, either consciously or unconsciously, and it alienates our audience. We're speaking a completely different language. They don't know what we're talking about, and we all do it. We start to use phrases that are really familiar to us, but either they feel hard for our people to grasp or they make us feel kind of unattainable or out of touch with where they are right now. You're going for approachable with your content. You're not the highfalutin expert giving directions. You're the one that's in the trenches with them, working right alongside them to figure things out. So use the words they use. When they use certain phrases, screenshot them so you know exactly how they say what they say and what the meaning is behind it. I actually do this. When people will send me a DM or a question, I will screenshot it. I will put it inside my content ideas, or another folder, depending on what the comment is related to. And there's something about seeing those words that helps me write better copy, that helps me speak to my audience more. And having those screenshots and just seeing the real faces of real people asking meaningful questions that you can answer is powerful. And it gives you that confidence that you can relate to them. You can understand them. You know what they're saying. You know how to respond. So study, listen, and repeat their words back to them. All right. And number three, write for one person, not to go viral. So instead of trying to write or do a video or live like this for a group of people, you choose one person. When I craft my live sessions like these, and when I do my LinkedIn Accelerator programs, yes, I have a group of people in there, but I usually picture one specific person that is inside that cohort, that is inside my audience, that I know has a question and something I really want to get in with them. I want to talk with them about this. And I bring that energy to my sessions, to my lives, to my podcasts. And this is how we go deeper. This is how we make people feel like we are in their ears, that when they hear us talk, they go, oh, that resonates with me. So think about the one person, like make one up if you don't have one yet, to make up a person that you can picture in your mind when you are creating content, that you are specifically creating this piece of content for them. When you approach your content this way, it has a feeling of vulnerability to it that you cannot get when you're trying to write an announcement for a massive group of people or trying to write your email campaigns. Think about one person. Develop and cultivate that depth of understanding, just like my program participant mentioned when she wanted to go deeper with her network rather than keeping things kind of surface level and broad. And guess who's going to have more long term success and work with the best clients and customers? You will, because you understand them and you value that one person and you put that amount of energy and attention into your content and it comes through. So, tying all of this together, your goal with LinkedIn engagement is to create meaningful one to one connections with your LinkedIn network around your areas of passion and expertise, not to try to get random comments from people simply because you wrote something that was shareable. So, my challenge for you is write one piece of meaningful content to one person in your network this week. I don't care if you post it, I don't care if you send it in a direct message. One piece of content. It can be short, it can be long. You can write an article, you can write a message, you can write a, connection invitation, whatever it is. Then start tracking how many of your engagements in some way can map to a sales conversation. That's where the magic is. When you understand the activities that you do related to content and other activities, of course, when they map back to sales conversations, if somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, I saw this piece of content," or "This way of thinking really resonated with me," pay attention to those. Those are gold. Those will help you with your content creation over time. That is where the magic is. And I'd love to see what you come up with. So feel free to tag me in the comments or shoot me a DM to let me know if you do take me up on this challenge. One piece of content to one person this week and see what happens. So let's recap the process. So, number one, we are looking to go deeper with our content. So, we are listening, we are paying attention, we are listening to the words that they are using. Then, we are speaking their language and we are staying away from any jargon. We want to avoid that at all costs. And then, we are writing content for just one person, not for a group of people. All right. So, what questions do you have about kickstarting engagement on LinkedIn the Mango way? Leave them below in the comments or shoot me a private message. I'm happy to answer them, and it might spark another idea for a follow up conversation on Mondays with Mindy. If you're looking for that extra edge to get you started on the right path with LinkedIn, to really start having these types of engagements that lead to new business for you, new opportunities, sales conversations, then you'll want to hop on the waitlist for the LinkedIn Accelerator. We are kicking off in July and spots are already filling up. So make sure to get on the wait list. This is a program that is tailored to take you through all of the sections on your LinkedIn profile in just 5 days flat. It's 1 week, small group, it's a cohort, and you're off to the LinkedIn races to start growing your network, getting conversations. If you're interested, here's the link to get on the wait list and find out a few more details. All right, that's it for this week. I will see you next week on Mondays with Mindy. Feel free to leave any questions or comments below, and my inbox is always open if you want to message me directly. Have a beautiful rest of your week. Bye for now.